Imagine a child only 6 months in the womb of her mother. At this point, she has fully developed hands and feet. Her heart pumps as anyone else's heart would pump. She has eyes fully developed. She has ears fully developed, including all that is necessary in each of these instruments for her to be able to live outside the womb, if necessary. But in spite of all of these tools at her disposal, she can really use none of them. Her ears have only been able to pick up muffled sounds filtered through the mother's womb. Her eyes have only seen two shades of really just red and black. She has a fully developed sense of taste, but she's never tasted anything perhaps except her thumb. She has feet to run, but she has no ability to run. She swims in her mother's womb. She reaches out with her hands, and she can touch the very limits of the universe that she knows. And for all she knows, this is all that exists. Jesus said that if we are to enter into the kingdom of heaven, we must be born again. Nicodemus thought this was a bit of a joke, and he said, "Am I supposed to be born once again when I'm old from my mother's womb?" Interestingly, Jesus replied to Nicodemus's question not with a no, but merely to reiterate what he had said before. You must be born of water and of spirit. This invites us, I think, to think of the analogy of the child inside of the womb and to understand what he meant by being born again. Again, this child has all of the features of the human being, and yet inside of the womb they're almost entirely wasted so far. And again, all she knows is this universe, and this is the only one that could possibly exist. However, within 3 months, her mother is going to begin to give birth to her, and she's going to come through the birth canal, and then when she comes into the light, it's going to be a tormenting, excruciating experience for her. For the first time, she's going to see light. She's going to come through the womb, and it's going to strike her eyes, the eyes she barely knew she had, as swords being slammed into one's eyeballs. She's going to scream and cry, trying to keep this light out of her eyes. She's going to hear for the first time sounds that are no longer muffled by her mother's womb and no longer muffled by the water surrounding her. She is going to hear the sound of the doctor's voice, the sound of her mother's cries. They're all going to come piercing into her ears, and it's going to be even more painful than the light is to her eyes. She's going to drop for the first time in her life from 98.6 degrees, a steady temperature she's always been familiar with, give or take 1 or 2 or maybe 3 degrees at most, to suddenly dropping to about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. She's going to be shivering cold, blinded by the light, and have a piercing headache caused by the sound of people's voices. It's all going to be new, and she's going to suddenly emerge into a universe she never could have imagined existed. Suddenly, all of those features at first are going to be her enemies, but in time she will adapt to this new world. And once she has tasted strawberries, and once she has run over green grass, once she has seen the color of a rainbow, once she has heard a symphony, or just the sound of her mother's voice, she would never choose that previous existence again. It would be as insane, I think, for us to suppose that this world we're living in right now is all that exists. As insane to believe that as it would be for the child 6 months in the womb to believe that this is all that exists. We are to be born again. And one day we will step into the full light. But for now, this world is just a second womb through which we need to be born. So what about you? Is this all that exists? Is this all you believe in? Or are you sometimes tempted to believe that there's something beyond? As the child reaches out and touches the limits of her universe and believes this is all there is, it would be easy for you to assume that though you can't touch the stars, you can't go to the edge of the universe, you at least know theoretically that it's there. And maybe, it's easy to assume, again, that the material world is all there is. But what if you're just in a second womb and you're being invited into the kingdom of God?